Hi, everyone. This is Ariana Prasad with FanSided, and today I'm here with Andy Roddick. Needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. He's a former number one world tennis player and a major champion with his victory in the 2003 US Open. Andy and USTA are partnered with IBM, which has exciting developments for the US Open. Andy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the time.
Of course. So I want to start off with this Ibm Watson news. What is Ibm Watson bringing to the US Open experience?
Well, listen, IBM has had a 30-year relationship with the USTA and the US Open, and in a vacuum, in any kind of corporate relationship, that's a long time, especially in an industry that's generally known for disruption. But specifically to IBM Watson, new technology this year is using artificial intelligence. We've known for a long time that if you're able to give IBM a bunch of numbers, they're going to distill it down to get a solution. What's new is the ability to analyze the spoken word, right? So articles that are written, what people are talking about, the players they're talking about, the words most commonly associated with those players to give kind of real-time feedback. It accounts for momentum in their predictive analytics, meaning so there's a 52-week ranking system in tennis, right? So Emma Raducanu is still getting ranking credit for what she did last year in New York, even though maybe the last 3 months, the same form maybe hasn't been there. IBM Watson puts more precedent on the last 3 months, what momentum they have, which basically just makes us smarter fans when we're on the app and the website.
That's so exciting. And as you said, very informative, makes us all smarter fans. So why are we doing this specifically with tennis? We see analytics in all sorts of sports. Why is it so important that we have this in tennis?
Well, there's just a million things going on in tennis, right? It's hard to kind of take account for where the ball is being played, the speed of different shots, the win-loss records, how the matchups go, playing styles, how they differ, how people get covered, which is again one of the new exciting things, different from most predictive analytics. And first and foremost, I think what IBM does is creates an amazing fan experience, right? I'll be in the stadium watching the matches. I know something about tennis, and I'm still on the app trying to figure out what I'm watching and really breaking it down to the last detail. And IBM and Watson have done an amazing job with that.
Definitely. And how do you think that this might change coverage in the future? I think that that's an important thing. Obviously, in tennis, people build up big names and reputations, and there's a lot of hype, but there can be newcomers that are coming in and playing really well. Is IBM maybe going to give them an edge in certain matches?
Yeah, I think so. And that's kind of what we were speaking to before on the momentum side of things, right? So it's not just, hey, I'm a big name. I'm Venus Williams coming in this year. I'm a 7-time Grand Slam champion, but maybe this person from some country we don't know much about has been playing better the last 3 months. So it's hard to say, oh gosh, this person Venus is playing as a 70% favorite. But also, here's the reasoning for it, right? We're going to actually tell you why we've come up with this scenario. Not just you're not just getting the answers to the test. You're actually getting a look at the problem as well to create a kind of a fuller view.
That's so exciting. And so I want to ask you, since we're thinking about these analytics, so if IBM Watson was offering this data to viewers back in 2003, what do you think? So the win factors and the likelihood to win, what would it predict about you?
Well, it's a weird thing because I had a good summer that year. I won a bunch of tournaments coming into the US Open. It's probably the only time I ever felt like I was the favorite, but I played a guy named Tim Henman first round, who, most people have said, Andy's had a great summer. He's the favorite. Fine. What Watson would have found out is that my matchup and my head-to-head record against Henman wasn't that great. He was the only guy I had lost to the entire hardcourt summer. I just so happened to be drawn against him first round. So whereas most people covering tennis, if they weren't dialed in on what had happened in the last 2 months and matchup styles, they would have said, Andy's going to roll. I got through it, but I promise you I was stressed out about that first one.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. I'm glad that we're getting that kind of insight that, maybe Watson would have hinted at that as well, but yeah. That's really interesting. So we know that I saw that actually you played a match on August 22nd. So I want to ask you, what's it like being back on the US Open court?
Oh gosh, the game used to be easier for me. I'll tell you that much right now, but it was pretty fun. The USTA has done a great job establishing what they're calling Fan Week. So the week before, creating exposure to tennis, come out to the grounds, and it's all free, right? So Emma, who we mentioned before, was in qualifying last year. You could have seen her for free 2 weeks before she actually won the U.S. Open. So there's that. They bring some of us has-been players back to play EXO. We played in front of a fun crowd last night. Free tickets for everyone. There are concerts. I think Joe Jonas's group is playing there this week, and it's all free. If you're a family and you want to bring some kids out, have a great time, check out Fan Week. And the match we played the other night, it was just a small part of that.
Oh my God. Well, I wish I was in New York. I would love to go. That sounds so much fun. And that's really exciting, especially building up hype. We already know there's so much hype, obviously, with all the people who are playing in the US Open, but Serena, this is the big headline, right? And so as someone who's been in that position, how difficult do you think it is for her to step away from the game?
Yes, well, I've been saying there's not a lot of firsts left for Serena, but retiring at the US Open is a first. So as much as she knows the ins and outs of the emotions of tennis match and how to navigate through Grand Slam tournaments, this is going to be hard. I'm personally thankful that she kind of let us in a month ago, so we can kind of appreciate and celebrate her. If she loses first round or if she loses fourth round, it's largely irrelevant. We want the ability to celebrate her, but her legacy is locked in stone. We just need to be kind of great fans. I've known Venus and Serena since I was 8 or 9 years old, so it's emotional for me. I don't want it to come to an end, but I also am thankful for the opportunity to kind of be in on it, so that we can celebrate and we can celebrate accordingly.
Definitely. And I'm glad that you brought that up, that you've known her since you were a kid. So obviously we have King Richard that's come out and so much coverage of Serena, but can you tell me what's something that about her that doesn't get talked about enough?
What's funny, because she's so competitive, right? And so the majority of time when people see her, she's either on the court, where she's a bad lady when she's on the court, you don't want to mess with her, or in press right afterwards, of which I think she's probably been guilty of going to the press room too quickly after losses sometimes. But I don't think people see enough of the lighter side of Venus and Serena. They're such a joy to be around when they're not kind of in go mode, which we've celebrated people's competitiveness over the years, the greats of all time. And unfortunately, I don't think we've given them the benefit of the doubt to have those kind of same competitive moments. But socially, they're just great to be around, very considerate. An example is when we had our first child, Hank, and Serena was just in Austin when we were living there at the time. And she goes, I want to come meet the baby. And, we lived way out of town. She was busy, but made the effort to come out. And so little things like that. I wish people got a little bit more of a peek behind the curtain, but hopefully we'll get to see even more in the postmortem of her playing career.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And yeah, I love that she let us in as well, as you said, so we can celebrate her before she plays in the US Open. So speaking of, retirement, you've played against Roger Federer all these years, and you know his mindset. And I know obviously people are trying to speculate, is he coming back? Is he not? So what makes you think that he is going to come back to the court?
Well, he's scheduled for 2 events later this year. So he'll play in the Labor Cup, which is awesome because it actually has Rafa, Roger, Novak, and Andy Murray all on the same team for the first time ever for Team Europe, which is pretty cool. It's like the dream team in Barcelona when all the NBA guys went over, however many years ago. But I think what Roger's probably going to be looking for is I think he's smart to go back at these tournaments. The workload will be a little less. He's going to play there, and he's going to play in his hometown tournament in Basel. I think we're going to get a little bit of a read. Is he going to play singles at Labor Cup? Is it just going to be doubles? Are we going to get to see what his movement's like on that knee that's had all those operations? I think the question is, will we see him playing, grueling Grand Slam events again, right? 3 out of 5 sets, of which you have to win, 21 sets over the course of 14 days. Can his body handle that? I would guess that he doesn't even know that yet. But the good news is we will see him on the tennis court in a professional setting again. Hopefully we'll see him at places like Wimbledon and the US Open again. But listen, time is undefeated. It'll get Roger at some point. I just hope it's not anytime too soon.
Yeah, that's great. And we have so much to look forward to with him. So I know GQ published an article last year and it was titled, "Where's the next Andy Roddick?" And I know that's been a big conversation, obviously. So who are some of the young players you're looking at that you think could be the next American man to win the US Open?
Well, Taylor Fritz has been playing great this year. Obviously beating Rafa in the finals of Indian Wells, but past that result, been playing deep into tournaments consistently. Almost beat Rafa again at Wimbledon in the quarters. So I think as he finds his pacing, he's not scared of playing those tough matches against the top players anymore. I think he believes that he can beat them. Be interesting to see when the draw comes out, how it shakes out for him. I think his fitness is better than what it used to be. Credit to him. I think he's really honed his craft over the last year, improved different things. Francis Tiafoe, I actually saw him in the lobby of the hotel last night, and he was always full of energy. It's always great to see him. You like to see him under the lights. He has the kind of personality that lends itself to dramatic night tennis at the U.S. Open. So you hope he gets that opportunity. Jensen Brooksby kind of came onto the radar last year. He came out and took a set off Novak right away in a night match. He's certainly not scared to kind of get in there and mix it up. So I think just by volume, we have a lot of really good prospects, maybe better than we've had in a long time. Sebi Korda is another one that needs to be in that conversation. So I think there is some upside there to be had. Listen, I don't want to be the answer to a trivia question any longer. I would love one of these guys to break out, and I hope they can.
The answer to a trivia question. I like that. No, but you've mentioned so many great people. We actually spoke with Francis recently, so he's a joy. All so many great names to watch. Got the blessing of Andy, so let's go. I'm excited about it. So I know that you were playing, one of your last matches was in 2012, but that was in the US Open. And then, Serena's announcing her retirement in the US Open. So what does it mean for American tennis stars to play some of those final matches in the US Open before that crown?
Yeah, listen, my retirement's a blip on the radar compared to what Serena's is going to be and kind of the circus around it. Honestly, the week that I retired and then kept playing throughout the tournament was one of my favorite weeks of my entire career. You were able to kind of stop, take a moment, really enjoy the innocent parts of the game. Tomorrow wasn't guaranteed, and largely it didn't matter. Right, next week you weren't going to be a tennis player anymore. So I allowed myself to really, being on Arthur Ashe Stadium, instead of being down and being focused the whole time, I allowed myself to look up at the crowd a little bit more and really kind of almost make a mental picture book. I hope Serena can do that. She is so hyper focused and competitive. I hope she allows herself those small moments of relief throughout this tournament. I hope she enjoys those quiet interactions in a locker room with a friend she's had for 20 years. And she won't know the cadence of how often she'll see that person from here on out. So managing those emotions was one of the harder parts, right? The front-facing part and actually playing was fine, but it's those quiet moments and walking into the stadium for your match. And is this the last time I'm going to walk down this tunnel as a player? All of those things build. I hope she takes the tact of, I'm going to enjoy this. I love this, as opposed to kind of being emotional about it. It's going to be hard. There's not a lot of firsts out there for Serena. I'm curious to see how it goes, because it's just so unpredictable.
Definitely. I'm glad that you bring that up about the quiet moments. I think when we see her looking into the crowd or having, on camera, when we see those things, we're going to be wondering what she's thinking. Maybe she's hyper focused. Maybe she's taking those moments in. But yeah. So I want to ask, I know Andre Agassi has been your mentor throughout your career, but today he's a close friend. He supports your foundation. So how has Andre's mentorship shaped you even to this day?
I learned a lot by watching. And Andre's, we don't talk all the time. I feel like he gave me as much as he had when I was very young. And then, it's almost like a parent sending their kid off to college. They say, good luck. I hope you make good decisions. But he's always been there as a reference point. But my experiences around Andre, whether I was traveling with him as a hitting partner when I'm 17 years old, or playing, exhibitions across the country, and seeing how he walks into a room, understands the value of who's putting on the event, what are their names, how do I address them and give them the respect and the thanks they need. So seeing that in real time I always call it my internship. he was so available early on in my career. And so, and also to kind of see the way that he built out his foundation and kind of being able to eavesdrop on some of those conversations where we'd finish a practice and then all of a sudden he'd go into chairman mode and have to kind of problem solve for something completely outside of the realm of tennis was something that I was happy to have seen up close.
Yeah, that's incredible to learn from someone like that. And were you able to have that experience with the younger player yourself?
All I can be is available. So I kind of made it known if when Isner came on tour or anyone else, listen, I'm not going to corner you and tell you how I walked uphill both ways to school. I'm available. Here's my info. If there's something you're going through, or chances are I've probably seen it. I can tell you what I know. More importantly, I can tell you what I didn't know. Maybe save you some time, but I do try to be available, but I also don't. I don't want to interject myself into someone's situation just because I feel a certain way.
Well, in this conversation, I feel like you've given us so much insight into, your career, your mindset, and that of others. So, we appreciate it. You're definitely available. So one more thing that I want to ask you. So you've also played pickleball against Andre in the past. I know you love the game and have a lot of fun with it. So I want to ask you, why is this one of the fastest growing sports in America?
Well, I think the learning curve is significantly less than tennis. You can do it with a cocktail in your hand, which is something you can't really do with tennis. I think just from a real estate perspective, 3 courts can fit on 1 tennis court, and it's normally a 4-person game. So it's not surprising to see as a participatory event that pickleball has really taken off. Now, the next question is it something that people want to watch on television? Does it shout at you? You want to go to an NBA game because you want to see Steph Curry pull up and shoot from 30 feet. You want to see the athleticism of Rafa Nadal. You want to see these superhumans do stuff that you can't do. So to be curious to see what that next step is. But as far as a recreational game and a participatory sport, I completely understand the growth.
So why don't we have a tournament? You, Serena, Andre, like American stars. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I want to say that Serena's going to be pretty in demand, and I also want to say the price she's going to be able to demand to show up for things like that may be a little bit much.
Maybe for charity, right? Serena graces us with her presence. Andy, thank you for gracing us with your presence. And thank you for your insight. And thank you for telling us about Ibm Watson and the app and how we can learn all these new things at the US Open.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Of course. Thanks.